The air on Carthon 7 was heavy with smoke and ash. The ground shook with distant explosions, and the sky above was orange from burning clouds. War had reached the planet's last wild zone, and the alien scouts were gathering to secure it. Captain Varela, one of the best warriors of the Valari Empire, stood on the landing platform. She was tall, proud, her silver armor shining even through the dirt. Her sharp red eyes scanned the group of fighters, and then she saw him, a human, thin, rough-looking, wearing no armor, just simple brown clothes, a leather strap across his chest and something strange in his hand, a bow, a wooden bow. Varela blinked. Is this a joke? The commanding officer stepped forward. Captain Varela, this is your assigned partner. His name is Rowan, Earthborn. She raised an eyebrow. My partner? Him? She looked him up and down. With a stick and a string? Rowan didn't reply. He simply stood there, calm, his eyes focused but quiet. He had short dark hair, sunburnt skin, and a look that said he didn't care if she approved or not. I fight with warriors, she muttered. Not farmers with toys. But the orders were final. Varela turned her back and started walking. Try to keep up, Earthling. They moved into the thick jungle. Trees stretched high like towers. Strange sounds echoed all around them. Animal calls, insect clicks, and sometimes gunfire. The jungle was alive and deadly. Varela led the way, fast and confident. She didn't wait for him. She didn't speak. But Rowan was silent too. His footsteps were soft, like he'd walked these kinds of lands before. She paused near a riverbank. We'll camp here, stay quiet. Drones patrol this zone. Rowan gave a small nod and set his pack down. He looked around, then slowly picked up a few leaves and rubbed them between his fingers. He smelled the air. You smell something? Varela asked with a frown. Smoke, he said softly. 3 clicks south. Not natural. Enemy camp. She rolled her eyes. I didn't ask for a forest guide. Still, she turned and scanned the direction. And yes, just barely, black smoke curled over the trees. She felt a little annoyed. Lucky guess, she told herself. As night began to fall, the sounds of the jungle grew louder. Varela sat beside the fire, sharpening her blade. Rowan sat across. From her, carving something from a piece of wood, she couldn't help but ask, why the bow? Don't humans use guns now? He looked up. Guns make noise. And you don't like noise? He smiled just a little. I like to stay alive. Varela scoffed again. Well, stay out of my way, I don't need help. Rowan didn't respond, he just kept carving. Suddenly there was a snap in the trees behind them. Varela stood up fast, hand on her plasma blade. 2 enemies burst from the shadows, dark armored creatures from the rival Skarn Empire. Fast, deadly. One leapt toward her, the other aimed a rifle. Varela moved to strike, but before her blade even left the sheath, one arrow flew past her shoulder. Thwip, the arrow, split into 2 midair. One head curved upward, the other down. In one smooth motion, it struck both enemies. One in the eye, one in the throat. They dropped. Varela stood frozen. Rowan was still kneeling by the fire, now holding another arrow, calm like nothing happened. She slowly turned to look at him. That arrow. It. 2 heads, he said simply. I made it earlier. She walked over and looked at the fallen enemies. Both dead, both clean kills. She had trained in war academies, fought in over 50 battles, used the best tech in the galaxy, and this man had taken out 2 trained killers with a piece of wood and a rope. For the first time, Varela didn't have a reply. She sat down beside the fire again, slower now. Rowan glanced at her. Still don't. Want help? Varela stared into the flames. She didn't answer, but inside, something had changed. Maybe this human wasn't just a stick-and-string fool after all. The jungle no longer felt like hers. Captain Varela had always believed Herself the strongest, fast, skilled, and sharp-minded. But now every time she looked at the human walking quietly beside her, something twisted in her chest. That arrow, that impossible shot, she didn't speak of it, and neither did he. They continued deeper into the jungle, heading toward the old Valerie Temple ruins, now taken by enemy forces. Their mission, scout, mark, and return. But Varela had her pride. She planned to take down a few enemies on the way back, just to prove she didn't need a human with forest tricks. The trees thickened, and light faded under the giant leaves. Strange alien birds screamed from above. Something large moved through the grass nearby. Rowan crouched suddenly and held up a hand, silent, still like a statue. Varela barely stopped in time. She opened her mouth to question him, but he shook his head slowly and pointed at the ground. She followed his gesture. A tripwire. Thin, clear, almost invisible. Scarn trap, Rowan whispered. New model. If you had stepped forward. Varela took a shaky breath. I would have been torn in half. He nodded once. He reached into his bag and pulled out a tiny metal blade and a piece of gum-like clay. In seconds, he disarmed the trap, then marked a nearby tree with a strange earth symbol. Varela stared at him. You've done this before, many times, he said quietly. Jungle war, Earth, Mars, a few dirty jobs no one wants to talk about. For a moment she saw something else behind his calm eyes, memories, pain, regret. Then it vanished and he was silent again. They moved forward. Hours passed. The sun above faded into dusk. Every now and then, Rowan would stop and mark paths, sniff the air, or brush aside leaves to check for signs. Varela watched, not mocking now, learning. At last they reached a cliff's edge. Below, half hidden by vines and rubble, stood the ancient temple. Cracked stone towers, glowing carvings, and enemy movement. A full patrol squad. We're too late, Varela muttered. They've fortified it. Rowan handed her a small scanner. Count them. She looked. 8 soldiers, 2 on the upper platform, 1 with a drone controller. We can't take them all, she said. We report and retreat. But Rowan was already moving. Not toward the fight, but behind the tree line, carefully, silently. Varela followed. He led her to a low ridge facing the temple's side. There's a tunnel, he said, covered with roots. I saw it on the old satellite maps, probably forgotten by now. How do you know all this? Rowan looked at her. I read the mission brief. Varela blinked. She hadn't even opened the full brief. She thought she already knew enough. He removed the roots slowly, revealing a narrow tunnel mouth, darkness inside, no noise, no light. You really want to go in there? She asked. I don't want to, he said. But it's the smart way. They crawled inside. The tunnel smelled of moss and ancient dust. The walls were covered in strange glowing vines. As they moved forward, Varela touched one. Rowan stopped her. Careful, some vines burn skin. I'll go first. He took the lead again. Why does he care so much if I get hurt? Varela wondered. She followed in silence. Finally, they reached an exit, a stone gate behind the temple altar. From here they could see everything, including a stolen Valeri artifact pulsing on a metal stand. Their drone controller is heading this way, Rowan whispered. Varela nodded and moved her hand to her blaster. Rowan placed his hand on her wrist. Too loud. He pulled out an arrow. Its tip was dull, not meant to kill. He waited. As the enemy soldier stepped onto the stone floor, Rowan let the arrow fly. It hit the man's helmet with a heavy clang, knocking him out cold. Varela's eyes widened. A blunt arrow, she whispered. Rowan smiled. Sometimes quiet beats deadly. Back in the tunnel carrying the stolen artifact, Varela walked behind Rowan. For the first time, she didn't think of him as just a partner. She thought of him as something else. Ghost in the forest, a soldier without armor. A man who didn't talk, but saved her life with silence. She wanted to ask him more. Where he learned these things, why he joined the mission, why he still cared to help someone who scoffed at him. But she stayed quiet too, because now she understood the power of silence. The jungle slept, but not all things were asleep. Dark clouds drifted across the alien moon, hiding its silver glow. The wind moved softly through the leaves, whispering secrets. In the middle of the thick forest, two figures rested beside a dying fire, one awake, one pretending to be. Captain Varela lay still, her red eyes half open, watching Rowan. He hadn't spoken much since they returned from the temple. He had started a small fire, gave her the driest rations, then sat a little distance away back against a tree with his bow on his lap. She noticed something strange. He never fully relaxed, not even for a second. Every time a branch cracked, he'd tilt his head slightly. Every animal cry made his fingers twitch, like a creature born for war, but tired of it. She finally closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, he was gone. Varela jumped to her feet, hand on her plasma blade. She looked around, ears alert. The fire was cold now. The moon was gone, and something deep inside her chest whispered, "Danger." She scanned the trees. Then she saw it, a movement, a shadow, a whisper of footsteps. She followed. Rowan moved like a ghost through the forest. No sound, no hesitation. Varela stayed low, tracking him through the bushes. She didn't call out. She wanted to see where he was going. What was he doing? Why had he left her alone? Then she saw it. He knelt beside a wide tree, pulling out small metal discs and pressing them into the dirt. They blinked red once, then vanished into camouflage mode. Mines. She looked up and gasped quietly. Not far ahead, a group of Skarn soldiers marched silently, unaware they were being watched. 7 of them. Full gear, heavily armed. She froze. Should they run? Hide? But Rowan wasn't running. He took a single arrow from his pouch. Varela stared. No way. No way he's doing this. He aimed high, adjusting for wind and distance, then let it go. Thwip. The arrow soared, hit a high branch, bounced, then struck a rock behind the soldiers. They turned, alert, weapons raised. One of them stepped forward, right onto the hidden mine. Boom! A silent blue blast sent 2 soldiers flying. The others scattered in confusion. Varela stepped back, heart pounding. He set this up. He planned it. And he had done it without orders, without backup. She ducked low and watched. Rowan didn't move. He didn't cheer or smile. He simply blended into the trees, retreating like a shadow. Back at the camp, Varela was waiting when he returned. "Where were you?" she asked softly. He sat down beside the fire. "Scouting." She didn't push, but her voice was softer now. "You could have told me. You needed rest," he said. She stared at him. "You took down a Skarn patrol by yourself." Rowan poked the fire gently. "Not all of them, but enough to buy us time." Time for what? For the next move. Later that night, a cold rain started to fall. Varela sat under a tree, curled into her cloak, but the wind still cut through her armor. Then something warm dropped across her shoulders. She looked up. Rowan had given her his coat. It was old, patched, and smelled of leather and smoke, but it was warm. "What about you?" she asked. He sat across from her, arms crossed. "I'm used to cold." She studied him. His quiet strength, his sharp eyes, his tired face, and she asked the question burning in her mind. "Why do you keep helping me?" Rowan didn't answer for a long time. Then he said, "Because I know what it feels like to be sent on a mission where no one expects you to come back." Varela's breath caught. She had been thinking the same thing. This mission, this pairing, wasn't about survival. It was about removal. Someone wanted them gone. She looked at the fire, then back at him. "We're not just scouts, are we?" she whispered. Rowan shook his head. "No, we're bait." The fire crackled between them. The rain softened to a mist, and in that quiet moment Captain Varela realized something she never expected. She didn't want to survive this mission alone. She wanted him beside her, until the end, and maybe longer. Dawn came slowly on Carthon 7. A soft orange light painted the jungle leaves. Mist covered the ground like a blanket, and through it, Captain Varela walked in silence. But she was not alone. On Rowan's back, a small alien child clung to him tightly, thin arms around his neck, tired face resting on his shoulder. They had found the girl just before sunrise, nearby, the ruins of an old village. Her home was destroyed, her parents gone. Her leg was bleeding, her body shaking with fear. Varela had raised her blade. "She'll slow us down," she said. "We can't protect her and complete the mission." Rowan hadn't spoken. He had simply knelt, taken off his coat, and wrapped it around the girl. Then, gently, he picked her up. That was 2 hours ago. Now, they moved through the forest with her still in his arms. Varela walked behind them, silent. She hated this feeling, the tightness in her chest, the whisper of doubt in her head. She was a soldier. Her orders came first. But the image of the child reaching for Rowan, clutching his neck, it kept replaying in her mind. They stopped near a hidden spring to rest. Rowan set the child down, gave her water, and tied a clean cloth around her injured leg. Varela watched from a distance. The child smiled, a tiny, broken smile. But it was real. "She trusts you," Varela said quietly. Rowan looked up. She needed someone to carry her. She needed a doctor, a medical tent, not two fugitives running through enemy land. Rowan shrugged. She needed warmth, safety, kindness. Varela turned away. That's not what wins wars. Rowan didn't argue. Instead, he handed her a small packet of dried fruit. "Eat. You haven't all morning." Varela took it, hesitated, then sat beside him. "Why?" she asked. "Why what? Why do you care about everyone so much? Even strangers? Even me?" Rowan was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. "Because when I was 10, my home was destroyed. Soldiers came. My parents died. I ran into the woods, bleeding, hungry, afraid." He glanced at the child. "Then a stranger found me, gave me food, wrapped my wounds, carried me for 3 days, never asked for anything." Varela listened, heart heavy. "Sometimes," he said softly, "we carry others so they can walk again later." A low roar cut through the trees. Varela stood fast, blaster ready. Rowan lifted the child and motioned toward a tree hollow. "Hide. Don't move." She obeyed without question. Moments later, a Skarn patrol unit crashed through the trees. 3 scouts, fast, aggressive, armed. They hadn't seen the child, but they saw Rowan, and they saw Varela. "Traitor," one of them hissed in their native tongue. "You travel with a human? You've shamed your blood." Varela's hand trembled. One of the scouts raised a rifle. But before he could fire, Varela stepped in front of Rowan. Her blade flashed once, twice. 2 of the scouts fell. The third swung, hard, and cut across her side. She stumbled, but Rowan was already moving. He charged, no weapon in hand, just fists and fury. The final scout collapsed under his blows. The forest fell quiet again. Varela dropped to one knee, blood seeping from her wound. Rowan knelt beside her, grabbing his medkit. "Let me." She pushed his hands away. "Don't touch me." He paused. "I'm not weak," she whispered. Rowan met her eyes. "No, you're not. But even strong people bleed." She looked away, ashamed. "I was wrong about you," she said. "I thought you were slow, simple, soft." "I am," he said. "But soft doesn't mean useless." As Rowan wrapped her wound, the child peeked from the tree. Varela gave a weak smile. "It's okay, we're fine." The girl stepped out slowly and wrapped her arms around Varela. The captain froze. This warmth, this tiny hug, it melted something deep inside her. She had saved worlds. She had fought beasts. She had never felt something like this. That night, they made camp near a waterfall. The child lay asleep between them. Varela looked at Rowan, her voice quiet. Back home, we're taught not to feel. Emotion is weakness. Pride is power. Rowan fed the fire. Back home, we're taught something else. What? He looked at her. That strength is carrying someone else when their legs no longer work. Varela didn't reply. But her pride, it cracked, and something better began to take its place. The rain was gentle that morning. It tapped the leaves above like a quiet warning. Varela walked ahead, the child in her arms this time. Rowan followed behind with slow steps, bow slung across his back, eyes scanning the trees. The jungle felt different today. Not just dangerous, but wrong. Every shadow seemed to watch them. Every silence felt planned. Then they saw it. An old Valerie outpost up ahead, hidden in the rocks, overgrown with vines. This place wasn't on the map, Varela said. Rowan's voice was low. That's because it's not supposed to exist. She turned toward him. You knew? I guessed. I saw signs, broken tech, old paths, but I didn't say anything until I was sure. They approached slowly. No alarms, no patrols. Inside, the lights flickered weakly. Metal walls rusted from years of abandonment. But someone had been here recently. The ground was clean, a kettle still warm, a single datapad blinking blue. Varela picked it up. A message played. Code Black Directive, cleanup operation. Eliminate Scout Varela and human operative Rowan after recovery of child subject. Do not return them. Use field accident report for cover. Her fingers froze. Rowan didn't react. He just stepped beside her and said, They never wanted us to survive. Varela backed away from the message. Her mind raced. Why? Why would my own command want me dead? Rowan looked at the child. Because we found her. And maybe she's more valuable than both of us combined. Varela sat, down hard on a metal crate. She had served for 20 years, fought in 5-star systems, obeyed every order. And now, her people had marked her as trash. Her fists shook. I trusted them. Rowan crouched beside her. So did I. Once. He opened his shirt collar slightly, revealing a small brand on his chest. Burned in. Faded now. A long time ago, Earth Command sent me into a facility. Said it was a rescue mission, but they never planned to extract me. I was a distraction for something else. Varela stared at the mark. You lived through it? I shouldn't have, he said. But someone helped me, a prisoner. She died getting me out. Varela lowered her head. And now? It's happening again, she whispered. Rowan nodded. Only this time, I won't walk away and let them win. Suddenly, a loud hum echoed outside. Varela rushed to the window. A dropship was landing, fast, heavy, with black markings. Not her normal command. Something darker. Shadow Division, she said with dread. They don't ask questions. They just clean up. Rowan picked up the child. We go now. No time to run, Varela said. They'll have heat scans. Rowan pulled a grenade from his bag. We don't run. We collapse the outpost. She blinked. What? We trap it. We let them think we died inside. And if it doesn't work? Rowan glanced down at the child. Then at least we tried protecting her. They worked fast. Varela set old charges in the support beams. Rowan rewired the doors to seal once closed. They used smoke pods to confuse the scanners. It was risky. Insane. But it might just be enough. As the ship landed outside, Rowan handed the child to Varela. Get in the crawl tunnel behind the main generator. It leads to the cliffs. What about you? I'll seal the doors. She hesitated. You'll be trapped. I've escaped worse. But Varela grabbed his arm. No, we're both getting out. That's an order. Rowan gave a small smile. I thought you didn't take orders from humans. Shut up, she whispered. Then she kissed his cheek, just once, quick, and ran. The blast came minutes later. The outpost roof caved in, smoke filled. The trees. From above, the shadow soldiers scanned the ruins. Nothing moved. Target eliminated. One of them reported. But deep below, through narrow tunnels and rock crevices, 3 figures crawled toward the sunlight, bloody, bruised alive. Hours later, on a high ridge, Varela sat beside Rowan, holding the sleeping child in her lap. She looked out over the jungle they had escaped. I was proud of my name, she said, my rank, my medals. Rowan sat beside her, wrapping a bandage around his arm. And now? She looked down at the child who clung to her even while dreaming. I'd trade all of it for her safety. For your life. For this moment. Rowan didn't reply, but he placed a hand over hers and she didn't pull away. The river was calm, too calm. Captain Varela sat at the edge, her legs in the cold water. The child lay nearby, wrapped in soft leaves and Rowan's jacket, asleep after another hard day of travel. But something was wrong. Rowan wasn't there. She looked around. His pack was gone. His bow was missing. His tracks in the dirt, heading back the way they had come. Varela stood quickly. Her wound ached, but she moved fast. She followed his tracks deep into the jungle. Then she heard it. Screams. Not wild animal sounds, not scarn roars. Human screams. She found them in a clearing. 3 shadow soldiers, the same kind who tried to erase them hours ago, now on their knees, bloodied, tied, shaking. Rowan stood over them. His face was dark, his eyes full of something she had never seen before. Fury. Cold. Controlled. He wasn't shouting. He wasn't flinching. He was silent. And that was even more terrifying. One soldier tried to speak. Please. We didn't know. We just follow orders. Rowan stepped forward and placed a blade against the man's throat. You followed the order to kill a child, he said quietly. To burn 2 lives. Just a cleanup mission. The soldier whimpered. Rowan didn't. Blink. Varela stepped into the clearing. Rowan, stop. He turned toward her, eyes still sharp, breathing heavy. She's safe, she said. We're alive, that's what matters. Rowan looked at the soldiers. No, what matters is making sure they never try again. He raised the knife. But Varela moved forward and grabbed his arm. You already won, she whispered. His grip loosened. The blade fell. Rowan stepped back, running a hand over his face. The rage was fading now. And what was left was pain. They tied the soldiers tight and left them for the jungle to decide their fate. Rowan walked ahead, not speaking. Varela followed. Why did you come back? She finally asked. We were free. He didn't stop walking. Because I wasn't. She frowned. What do you mean? I left someone behind, someone who helped us escape. She delayed the second squad so we could get out. A rebel? Rowan shook his head. An officer, from my world. She saw what they were planning. She gave me one last message. He handed Varela a small chip. She pressed it into her reader. The voice of a woman echoed. They're not after the child, they're after her DNA. She's not just a survivor. She's a key. A living answer to hybrid resistance. They'll never stop unless you disappear. Completely. Varela stared at the recording. This child, she whispered. She could stop the war. Rowan nodded. Or be used to win it. They stopped to rest in a cave that night. No fire. Just silence. Varela looked at him in the dim light. You weren't always like this. Rowan sat across from her, his hands shaking just slightly. No, he said. I used to believe in medals, in flags, in orders. What changed? He looked at the sleeping child again. Someone asked me once, What do you want to be remembered for? Obedience? Or compassion? Virella's voice was soft. What did you answer? He smiled faintly. I didn't, I just changed. Later, when the child cried in her sleep, Virella picked her up, held her close, whispered calm words in an alien tongue. Rowan watched. You're different too, he said. Virella nodded slowly. I used to scoff at you. I remember. I thought you were weak, a joke, a problem. And now? She looked him in the eyes. Now I wonder if you're the only real warrior I've ever met. He looked down, almost shy. Then she leaned forward and touched his hand. You don't need fury to be strong, Rowan. He met her gaze. Then why does it always come back? Because you care too much, she whispered. And that is your greatest weapon. Outside, the storm was growing, and in the shadows of the jungle, new enemies were already moving. But in that quiet cave, something stronger had formed. Not just trust, not just survival, but a bond that even the strongest fury could never destroy. They reached the cliff just before dawn. The sun had not yet risen, but the sky glowed with quiet gold. Mist rolled off the jungle like waves. Below, a silent valley stretched out, a place untouched by war. Captain Virella stood at the edge, windy, brushing through her dark silver hair. Rowan stood beside her, bow on his back, one hand gently holding the child's. This was their end point, but not the end. Behind them, they heard engines rumble far in the sky, distant, searching, still hunting. Rowan looked at Virella. They'll never stop, will they? No, she replied. Not while we're alive. She knelt beside the child and brushed hair from her face. She carries something they want, something they'll twist. We can't let that happen. Rowan stepped closer. Then we disappear. She nodded. But there was something else in her eyes, resolve and also grief. He saw it. What is it? Virella took a breath. There's a way to end this forever, to shut the hunt down. Rowan frowned. How? She reached into her cloak and pulled out a small black orb, the Valari blood crystal. It pulsed faintly. This, she said, is royal code. It holds a command I never wanted to use. It erases rank, identity, and places us outside all. While Rowan looked at it. A final exile. A new beginning, she said, but it comes with a price. She looked at him now, truly looked. I must declare a life bond, she said softly, with someone I trust more than any general, any council, even myself. Rowan stepped back slightly. You mean, yes, she whispered. You. For a long moment, neither spoke, only the wind moved. Rowan's voice came low. You hated me when we met. I feared you, she corrected. You mocked me. I was blind, he looked down. You want this because of duty? No, she said firmly. Because you carried me when I fell. Because you risked your life for a child who didn't speak your tongue. Because you never asked for thanks, but gave everything. She stepped closer. Because I don't want to wake up tomorrow without knowing you're still beside me. Rowan's hand trembled. And what if I fail you? Virella smiled gently. You already saved me. She pressed the orb to his hand. It glowed brighter, turning warm. Then she whispered the final command in the ancient Valari language. The crystal dissolved into ash. Rowan looked down at his palm. A small symbol now marked his skin, one that matched the one on hers. It's done, she said. You're no longer my partner, Rowan. She looked up. You're my bondmate, my chosen one. Hours later, the three of them stood on the valley floor. They found a hidden cave near the river. They would live there for a time, grow food, teach the child, build a new story. No military files would speak of them, no statues, no parades. But deep in the wild lands of Carthon 7, a human, an alien captain, and a child with untold gifts would survive. Together. One night, as the stars blinked high above, the child asked softly, "Are we safe now?" Rowan smiled and looked at Varela, then back at her. "We're not just safe," he said. "We're free."